Minuteman Senior Services, and I'm here today to talk about prebiotics and probiotics and their effect on health. The lights have been dimmed. Is that too dark? Is that too dark? Can you guys see? Okay, that's good. Right there? Okay. All right. So before we start, we'll do a little quiz. Ask some questions to see what you already know. Probiotics have been in the news a lot, so just a couple of questions. So bacteria can be beneficial in our bodies. True or false?
True and false.
Which of the following may be a good source of probiotics? Sauerkraut, pasta, or peaches?
Sauerkraut.
What are prebiotics? Yogurt, bacteria for food, or disease-causing bacteria? Ooh, so that's one. We'll go over that. Don't you worry, by the end you will know. What may be bad for the bacteria balance in the gut? Exercise, antibiotics, or onions?
Antibiotics.
Yeah. And which of the following is a good source of prebiotics? Asparagus, garlic, or both? All right, so we will talk about all of these things, so you should know all the answers by the end. But it sounds like you all kind of have a base knowledge of what probiotics are. Hopefully we can teach you some more and we'll learn about prebiotics. So we'll talk about the gut and the microbiome. What is it? What does it do? Prebiotics and probiotics, what they are, what they do, and then we'll kind of wrap it up a little bit and how you can incorporate these things into your diet. So before we get started a little bit, I do want to give a little disclaimer. This is just information. It's not meant to treat any disease or any in particular person. If you do want to start supplements, change your diet, do anything like that, be sure to talk to your doctor first. Everybody is different. Some things work for some people, other people it doesn't. So make sure you talk to your doctor before you make any dietary changes or start any supplements. So the gastrointestinal tract. When we say gut, we're talking about the gastrointestinal tract, which we know is the organ system that takes in food, digests it to extract and absorb energy, nutrients, and vitamins, and expels waste. It includes the mouth, esophagus, stomach, and intestines. And we know many billions of bacteria, beneficial bacteria, live in your large intestine and help keep your GI tract healthy. It helps it function properly and helps you avoid disease.
Does it not live in the stomach also?
Yes. So the gut microbiome, it refers to all the microbes that live in your intestines. Not only your intestines, but your whole GI system. Your body actually has tons of bacteria on it and in it, all over, outside, inside, and just a fun little fact, there's 10 times more of the tiny bacteria and organisms on and in your body than there are human body cells. So you have more bacteria than you actually have human body cells. Fun fact. The bacteria is also sometimes called flora, it's called the microbiome. These are all kind of the same thing. It's all talking about the beneficial bacteria in your body and specifically in your gut. So the majority of the beneficial bacteria do live in our gut, especially the colon or the large intestine. The microbiome is really established at a young age, but it can be influenced throughout your lifetime based on the types of food you eat, antibiotic use, environmental factors, maybe even exercise. All of these things affect how healthy your gut microbiome is. So what does it do? It helps regulate the immune system. It helps prevent growth of harmful bacteria. It extracts energy from food and helps produce some essential vitamins and minerals like vitamin K, B vitamins, short-chain fatty acids. It helps to regulate glucose levels and metabolism. And a decrease in the diversity can help predispose you to conditions such as C. diff and other medical issues and intestinal issues if your gut microbiome is not diverse and healthy. Any questions on the microbiome before we move on to probiotics? So probiotics are living microorganisms, mostly bacteria, but also some yeast and other things, that are either similar to microorganisms found naturally in the human body and may be beneficial to health. They contain, probiotics are two main types, lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. They're usually found in yogurt, fermented products. We'll talk about specific food sources in a second. Lactobacillus and bifidobacterium are two of the big groups. There's also many different strains of those and different types of bacteria as well. If you get some of the bacteria-containing foods, some of the probiotic foods, you'll see the list of bacteria on them. I'll show you that in a minute. Taking probiotics or eating probiotics help replace the good bacteria after you lose them. So you can lose good bacteria through antibiotic use, which I'm sure most people are aware of. It kills the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. Eating probiotic foods or taking probiotics helps to replace that. And it helps to balance out the bad bacteria. So having enough good bacteria helps kind of fight off the bad bacteria. So some food sources. As a dietitian, I usually recommend food sources over supplements. So if you can add some probiotic foods into your diet, it's better than taking the supplements in most cases. Or at least we know it's safe to eat these probiotic foods. So probiotics are found in fermented foods like yogurt, which I know we're all familiar with. But what about kefir? Anybody ever drink kefir? It's a yogurt-like drink. Yep, it's got the fermented probiotics in it. Raw sauerkraut. So I like to point out that sauerkraut that you find in the jars doesn't always have the live and active probiotics in it because the heating kills them. So raw sauerkraut, the kind you find in the refrigerated section, is more likely to have the beneficial probiotics in it. That's kind of the same with any of these probiotic foods. Heating does kill them, so you don't want to eat it too hot, and you don't want to have any that were processed and killed along the way. Some other ones, kimchi. Familiar with kimchi? It's Korean fermented vegetables. Kombucha. Anyone? Kombucha, it's coming, a lot of these things are kind of getting more popular now as probiotics get more popular. But kombucha is fermented tea. Miso, tempeh, other fermented soybean products. At this point, people usually ask me about beer, if beer is a probiotic. Because it's fermented, right? Beer is made from fermentation, but it's not. There's something in the hops that prevents the growth of the good probiotic bacteria. So you cannot count beer as a probiotic. Pickles, if they've been fermented, then they will have probiotics in them. But if they're made just with vinegar, then they don't have the probiotics in them. They have to actually go through that fermentation process. And then there's also some different types of cheeses now that have the live and active cultures in them. Usually they're aged cheeses like Gouda, mozzarella, cheddar, some cottage cheese. But if you're buying that, you have to look for the live and active cultures on the label, because not all have.
Blue cheese has mold in it.
Right.
Is that probably a bacteria, right?
It is some kind of a bacteria, but
beneficial.
whether it actually has the beneficial probiotics in it, you'd have to see on the label if it says that it does, because not all do.
So, some cheese, if you leave it in the refrigerator a little too long, gets a little moldy.
Yeah.
Is that good? And your natural reaction is to throw it out. But I'm wondering, since you eat blue cheese that has mold,
yeah,
if you have a little mold in your other cheeses.
Just cut the mold off.
Most of the time people just say cut the mold off. But the problem is we don't know what kind of bacteria that is that's growing, so it may be good, it may be bad. I would err on the side of caution with that and not eat any of the moldy ones. Blue cheese, it's produced in a way to grow a specific type of mold, so it's not dangerous, but anything else that's growing mold, right, I wouldn't recommend eating, but yeah, it's kind of weird in that way.
Okay.
Any other questions about the food sources? No. We'll talk about it. And as we all probably know, probiotics are also available in supplements. So we see this a lot in the news and around, and you go to the supermarket and you see the nice long aisle of all the supplements with all the probiotics and all the other kinds in there. With probiotics and supplements in general, it's important to note they're really not regulated. They can voluntarily be tested by certain companies, but they're not regulated by the government. So you don't really know what's in them. And that's the one thing to be aware of with supplements. I looked, and some studies have found that the probiotic supplements might not contain the amount of probiotics that it says on the label. It might contain less than the probiotics amount on the label. They've been found to contain strains other than those listed on the label. So there's just some things you might not be able to kind of trust everything that's on the label. Doesn't mean they're dangerous. In most healthy people, probiotics have a good safety record, few if any side effects. But if people are immunocompromised, if they're ill, have a weakened immune system, if they're going through cancer, chemotherapy, that kind of thing, they might be at a greater risk for side effects. Definitely, if you have any kind of immune issues, talk to your doctor before taking any supplements, because the safety is the most important part. Yeah.
Are there any studies or results of which probiotics are better than others?
So that's a good question, because which probiotics are better than others, it all depends on why you're taking them. They've done a lot of studies on different ones. I was actually reading through some more this morning. Some specific probiotics have been shown to help with, say, gas, bloating. Others have been good for immune system. So there are lots of studies on specific probiotics in specific quantities for specific ailments. So there's so much research going on in this currently. So yes, they are researching them. There are some that are shown to be better than others for specific things. Sorry, that's kind of a...
But those lists aren't really available about which probiotics are good and which.
There are some. Let me look after. I have a notebook together. I did find something that had a list of different probiotics with what they were studied for, and what they've kind of been proven to show some decent or good results for. But I did find that. Let me look for it afterwards.
Sure.
So I think that's all on that slide. So that's kind of all about the probiotics. Now, prebiotics was, I think, something new to you guys, and it was something new to me when I started really digging into some of this. Prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. So they're really the things that act like a fertilizer. They help the healthy bacteria grow, flourish, stay in your gut, really. So it nourishes them. They are not absorbed or digested by the body. So prebiotics aren't absorbed or digested, and they stimulate the natural increase in good bacteria. They're naturally occurring in many plant foods. They're really the components of non-digestible fibers. So, again, they're found in food, mostly fruits and vegetables. So asparagus, onion, leeks, garlic, chicory, sunchokes, bananas, whole grain wheat, yams, sweet potatoes. Those are some of the foods that are highest in prebiotics. Yeah?
What's a sunchoke?
So a sunchoke, that's this one right here. I put the picture right there because I get that question a lot. It's kind of like a root vegetable. They're kind of radishy almost. Anybody familiar with sunchokes? I've had them roasted before. Some people say you can kind of like shave them into a salad, like jicama, like radish kind of.
Are they like a turnip?
A little bit, yeah. It's all kind of the same kind of root vegetable type thing. So those are the prebiotic food sources. Like we said, they're indigestible fibers from plants. Eating these types of food in general can help improve bloating, digestion, regularity. These are foods high in fiber. So if you're going to start increasing these prebiotic foods or these high fiber foods, increase it slowly to avoid excess bloating and gas. The 2015 Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommends 22 to 28 grams of fiber per day for adults 51 and over. A recent study did show that Americans eat closer to 15 grams of fiber a day. So we all know benefits of fiber, right? Everybody's always telling you to eat more fiber, but it's a prebiotic as well, so it's going to help grow and nourish the good bacteria in your gut. So just another reason to increase fiber. Another tip, increase water consumption if you're going to increase your fiber. Otherwise, constipation can happen if you don't have enough water. There's no current recommendation for prebiotics or probiotics. I gave you the recommendation for fiber in general, but prebiotics and probiotics, they have not come out with any recommendations of how much you should be eating daily. My assumption is at some point they will. They're doing a lot of research in this area, and they'll probably come out with it at some point, but right now there's no guidelines except to incorporate it into a healthy diet. Next slide. So usually I would say try and consume probiotics around 3 times a week. Or, yogurt daily is fine too. Just incorporating those probiotic foods into your diet. Sauerkraut, as we know, is really high in sodium. So if you're watching your sodium, sauerkraut might not be the one you want to eat daily or 3 times a week. So that might be occasionally, but having it around 3 times a week is a good kind of starting point. Eating prebiotics and probiotics at the same time is helpful to create the environment for the bacteria to survive. So if you have banana and yogurt, banana is a prebiotic, yogurt's a probiotic, eating those together, you're kind of really feeding those bacteria well. They don't have to be eaten at the exact same time, but just making sure you have pre and probiotic foods in your diet will help grow the bacteria. Tips for choosing yogurt. If you're purchasing yogurt, you want to look for the live and active cultures on the label. I'll show you a picture of that on the next slide. People always ask what's better, Greek, regular yogurt. For probiotics, they're pretty much the same. You can look at the label to see the different strains of probiotics, but both will contain probiotics. Any brand contains probiotics. We want to look for yogurt without a lot of added sugars. I usually recommend 10 grams or less of sugar in the yogurt if you're choosing yogurt. And then you can add your own fruits and nuts to it to kind of make it a little bit sweeter or tastier. So up there is the live and active culture label. You sometimes see that sticker on the front of the yogurt. And then you'll see on the ingredients, I know it's kind of hard to see, but it says live and active cultures, and then it tells all the different strains that are in there. With yogurt too, the fresher, the better. The longer it sits, the less live probiotics there are. Because for probiotics to work, they need to be alive. If it's getting close or past the expiration date, you're probably not going to have as many live and active cultures in it as if it were fresher. Any questions on that? So, okay. So now I want to kind of show you a picture of what it might look like in your body. So we're going to pretend that this is your gut, right? So pretend that's your gut, and all the different shapes and colors represent different types of bacteria in your gut. So, we'll say here we have good variety, good different types of good bacteria. You have a healthy gut here. So now imagine you have an infection and we're prescribed antibiotics for 7 days. So say you have a sinus infection. You get prescribed antibiotics. We always want to take the antibiotics as they're prescribed to kill the bad bacteria, but they also do kill good bacteria. Not all the good bacteria, but some. So we'll say that the red squares get killed off by the bacteria. So now you can see you have less diversity in your gut. right? There's some holes there, there's less diversity. It opens up space for harmful bacteria to come in. Oops, that went the wrong way. So it opens up space for the harmful bacteria to come in. So now we'll say these brown, orange, and black bacteria are bad bacteria. It made space, the bad bacteria is kind of overgrowing. And we'll say maybe the brown and orange bacteria can lead to diarrhea if they overgrow too much. So if there's 5 or more, then you might have some diarrhea from, so there's 5 of the brown ones. So we'll say that, because you had that antibiotic, you ended up kind of having some diarrhea from the antibiotics that killed off some of your good bacteria. That's just kind of a way to show what might be happening in your gut. Anybody have ideas of how we could have stopped the bad bacteria from growing in your gut on the antibiotics?
Taking yogurt, wow.
Yeah, so
Why are you taking-
adding some probiotics when you're on the antibiotics will help replenish those ones that are getting killed off by the antibiotics. Eating something like yogurt, that's not going to hurt you. Just adding extra yogurt into your daily meals will help replenish some of those good bacteria that are getting killed off. You could also speak to your doctor. If they put you on antibiotics, speak to your doctor and say, hey, should I be getting on probiotics too? Do you recommend a probiotic for me? That way your doctor can help you choose one that might be right for you and what's going on so that you don't end up kind of getting another illness because of the antibiotics. Like I said, we always want to take the antibiotics. You want to kill the bad bacteria, but you want to watch out for the good ones too. So taking some probiotics, eating prebiotic foods to nourish the probiotics that are still alive in there, those are all ways to help. So the bottom line is really, like I've said a couple of times, make sure you consult your doctor before making any major dietary changes or taking any supplements. Gradually increase prebiotics and other high fiber foods if you're going to start, and increase water intake to avoid GI upset. And at the end of the day, your overall diet is still the key to maintaining optimal gut health. So make sure you have lots of fruits and vegetables and probiotic containing foods to help keep your gut healthy. Any questions on prebiotics, probiotics, gut health?
How much yogurt should you take to help?
So, it's one thing I read was saying about 6 ounces every day will help with kind of regularity. But at least a couple times a week having, a cup of yogurt, 6 to 8 ounces of yogurt a couple times a week if you're not having any now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Taking flaxseed helps keep one regular. Can you become, quote unquote, too regular where you're flushing your system out prematurely?
Yeah, if you are going too often, you may start getting rid of some of the good bacteria. So you don't want to be going to the bathroom too often. Flaxseed, I believe it's the fiber in that keeps things moving. So you want to make sure that you have kind of a balance of the probiotics and the fiber, the prebiotics. Yep.
I take a senior moment. I take an antibiotic every day,
Uh-huh.
so I take a probiotic.
Yep, a supplement. Yep. Yep, that's, I've heard some stories from people as I've gone out and done this talk. At another place, one woman was telling me that she was suffering from a lot of IBS, and she'd been suffering for a long time with it, and her doctor, her GI doctor, ended up getting her on some prescription probiotics that have really helped her situation and she was able to kind of live more of a life, being able to get out and do things because of the probiotics and how they helped kind of regulate her gut. But again, she did that with the watchful eye of her physician. But probiotics can really make a difference if somebody is having a lot of GI issues. It might be one of the treatment options.
Is that a pill?
It can be a pill as a supplement, yep. And it also comes in food. Probiotics come in food like yogurt, kefir.
I can't eat yogurt.
What,
and that
what
kind
could she
of stuff.
eat other than yogurt?
There's a list on there. I think you guys missed that part, but there's a
did.
list of the probiotic foods. I think the second page of the handout
Oh, okay.
has a list of the probiotic
Yeah.
foods.
Now, does most yogurt have probiotics?
Yes.
Probiotic?
Yes.
It doesn't have to say alive and active.
Yogurt, usually it's all alive and active. They do have different strains in different yogurts.
Okay.
But yes, they should all have some live and active cultures in them. That's, yeah.
Maybe that's what you need.
And now you'll see in the supermarket, I mean, when I go shopping, I notice they're putting probiotics in everything. I think I saw them in like dried cherries one day. I would suggest eating the probiotic foods that probiotics naturally grow in, like yogurt or sauerkraut or kefir or kombucha, because that's like the probiotics have naturally come created in those foods, grown in them. The other ones they're just adding probiotics to. I don't know how live and active they really are. I'm not quite sure. I think granola bars now sometimes have probiotics in them.
Is there a problem about eating too much probiotic?
There shouldn't be, unless it starts giving you GI upset because you're like eating too much. But I don't think there hasn't really shown. I think they just don't stick. You know, they don't stay in your gut if you already have enough, kind of thing.
A lot of us have European ancestry, whether French or Italian, and wine is, they consider very important to the whole digestive process.
Yes. So, good question. I've looked that one up too because along with beer, people like to ask about wine. So, red wine does not contain probiotics, but might serve more as a prebiotic, that it helps kind of feed and keep the gut healthy. At least one study showed that drinking a moderate amount, which was about 6 ounces a day, showed benefits to the microbiome in the gut. I wasn't able to find specifically what it was, or even if they know what it is about red wine. But yes, there is something about red wine that helps keep the gut healthy. Although, you know, that's a moderate amount, about 6 ounces a day. We wouldn't tell anybody to drink a whole lot of red wine, but a little bit has been shown to help with gut health. Yeah, thanks for pointing
No
that.
white wine is mentioned.
White wine was not mentioned, no.
Boy, the red's the only one that's good?
Red wine was the one that was mentioned.
My daughter drinks that.
Red wine has more sulfites in it than white wine.
Along the same line, my grandparents and then my parents were big believers in digestivos, the opposite of an aperitivo before dinner, but a digestivo after dinner.
Oh, like an after dinner cocktail?
Well, not a cocktail, it's Fernet Branca is an Italian version of that. What's the, I never remember the name of it, but it's more herbs.
Uh-huh.
It's a bitters. Some people refer to it as bitters and herbs. And you take it in very small, you know, half an ounce, and like sip it after the dinner.
Uh-huh. I am not familiar with that, but I
Called a
do know that,
digestivo.
I know that bitters can help like calm the stomach with stomach issues, but I don't know. I couldn't give you an answer on that, but I'm gonna look at that, I'm gonna look into that now. I will tell you, every time I go out and do these presentations, I learn something because people come up with these questions that I hadn't thought about and I don't know all the answers. So I go back and I look them up, like the beer and the wine and these things that everybody keeps asking me. So I'm like, I'm going to look that up next time and have the answer.
The
So.
digestivo that I couldn't remember, now I remember, Jagermeister,
Oh,
which is kind of getting pretty popular now.
yeah.
But again, taken in very, quarter to half an ounce, just kind of like sip it and let it slowly.
I wonder if there's any science behind that. I'm
So
gonna
that's what I'm wondering, might be a lot of marketing behind.
Right, marketing or just that's what everybody used to do, so that's what everybody did. But I'll have to look it up and see if there's any science behind if that really helps with digestion or the gut or anything.
Thank you.
Were you saying wine is good?
We were talking about red wine.
Red wine?
Red wine has been shown in small amounts to help with gut function, yeah. Not too much. 6 ounces a day.
One of those little glasses.
Yeah, 6 ounces.
6 ounces.
Oh, 6 ounces.
6 ounces isn't much.
Oh.
Or less. But yeah, the study mentioned in moderation, which said about 6 ounces a day.
Don't they say red wine is good for the heart?
Yeah, red wine is supposed to be good for the heart.
Not good if you're a woman. No.
See, there's so many things.
Breast issue
Yep.
with wine, even one drink can raise your level of breast cancer.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So the thing with all these studies that's hard to kind of suss out of all of it is that they look at one food and one issue. And, your diet is full of many foods and there may be many issues going on, but they always look at kind of one thing. So it's hard to figure out if there's really cause and effect or, okay, it's good. It might be good for the gut. It's shown to make your gut feel better, but, the other part of it, what is it doing to you? Yeah. Scientific studies with food and the body are difficult sometimes, yeah.
Elaine mentioned sulfites in red wine. That's a naturally occurring element of wine.
Yep.
But some bottles say contain sulfites and then others don't. Can they remove the
I
sulfites?
think they do. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know for sure. As a dietitian, we don't get into a lot of alcohol or food, but I think they do. I think they remove some of them, or some of them are less, naturally contained.
Maybe
less.
during the fermentation
Yeah.
process. Or the, what is
Yeah.
fermented?
Yeah, fermentation is a great, yes.
Are these microbrews the same thing as beer?
Yeah, microbrews, it's a type of beer, and they're fermented, but they don't have the probiotics because the hops, there's some substance in the hops that kind of don't allow the probiotics to grow or stay alive for your body, so.
But this is generally true.
All right, well, thank you all for coming, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one.